there he is. Craig, the man. Craig Kurlop is in the house.
Hey,
How you doing?
how you guys doing? Good, Dan. How are you? How's everybody else doing?
We're excited to have you here for sure.
Awesome. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I think we should point out, well, I just told everybody, Craig, they probably didn't realize, but the Sheeks Freaks Mastermind 1-year anniversary is coming up next month. And we've had a lot of guests on, a lot of great guests, but I will say that Craig is going to be our first 2-time guest. He was on, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, maybe 8 months ago. I don't remember, but he's back because he's that good, right? And so he's agreed to come back on, spend an hour with us, kind of talk about his story and then answer any questions you have. If you don't know Craig, he wrote this gem right here, The House Hacking Strategy. If anybody else has the book, put a few of them on the screen.
Thank you.
Yeah. In my opinion, he's the expert. I mean, because he actually walked the walk and reached financial independence using that strategy over a very short period of time, actually. So, Craig, welcome back. You're in Hawaii. Are you still there?
Yeah, we're here for about another month or so. Just getting away from that Denver snow that I hear y'all are getting. So,
yeah, it did snow 3 or 4 days ago.
It's probably all melted by now, right?
Yeah, it is. Tell us, before we get into your story and questions and stuff, tell us, because I think it's an interesting story. Tell us how you decided to go to Hawaii. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there, because I'm just curious in that. And tell us about all the fun you're having. What kinds of things?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I think a lot of you guys, if you've obviously read my book, I think a lot of my story is in my book. So you probably know a lot of my story, although I'm happy to answer any questions kind of prior to that. But to kind of jump to the chase, I achieved financial independence in 2019, largely through house hacking, right? There were some other things like some side hustles and other stuff that definitely helped. But the biggest impact was for sure house hacking. And I quit my job right when I hit financial independence. I quit my job in January of 2020 to become a full-time real estate agent. That really took off in 2020 for me, like more than I ever could have dreamed. And that's kind of where I really felt the real effect of financial independence, where I was able to, take that risk, feel comfortable taking that risk, and then be able to make 10 times more than I would ever make at a W-2 job, right? I saw someone post on Instagram, Dan, it might've been you actually, or it could have just been some person I follow, but where it was the top jobs, it's doctors can make 300 grand, maybe lawyers can make 300 grand, but then at the very top, it's entrepreneur and it's unlimited, right? And so, I made 10 times more than I ever made in my life last year. And that has really propelled me to actually become more of a business owner. And so in July, August of last year, I started I was running myself ragged and I couldn't take it anymore. So I was like, if I'm going to continue to do this, I need to have a team underneath me. So I had some agents that are all, real estate investors, investor minded and all that, now kind of going out helping the clients. And I'm more of just the, kind of the visionary, right? The content creator. I'm a resource for any of the clients and any of the realtors, but rather than going around and showing houses running contracts, right? I kind of leveled up and I kind of gave myself a promotion. And that I've been setting those systems up really probably for the last 6 months or so. And then in February of this past year of 2021, my girlfriend and I were doing a walk in Denver and it was cold as hell. And we're like, why the hell are we in Denver right now? I kind of realized that since I'm no longer showing houses and writing contracts, I didn't need to be there. She had quit her job because she's also, she got her second house hack and she's crazier than me. I don't think she's quite at financial independence yet, but she feels confident that she'll get there very quickly. We're like, why are we here? And so we kind of did this thing. It's well, let's go to Hawaii. And so a month later, we were on a plane to Hawaii. We've been here for about 3 weeks now, just to test hey, can we operate this thing away? Do we have to be location dependent? And so far it's been pretty fun. And we still try to get stuff done during the week because we like to feel productive. But during the weekends and even on nights and in the evenings and stuff, we like to go out and, kind of live how we want to live. And so it's been really fun. My parents actually also, like, growing up and stuff, another maybe little tidbit of inspiration. My entire life, like, we had this, those like 20-gallon like Poland Spring things that you like put on top of a water cooler. We had one of those in our house, and every time we like walked by it, we would like put our spare change in it and put a dollar bill in it, whatever. And that was always the Hawaii fund. And, I grew up probably after 10, 15 years of having that. We accumulated maybe like $2 or $3 grand in the Hawaii fund. And we ended up cashing it out and not going to Hawaii. I don't remember why. It might have been like 2008, 2009 when kind of everyone was struggling. But I don't remember why. I just remember cashing in and we no longer have it. And so it's always been like my family's dream to come to Hawaii. And, this just a week ago, I flew my parents out here, put them up with a place to stay, and was able to kind of like achieve a family dream of ours, largely through financial independence and house hacking and all that kind of stuff. So, I guess that's a little bit of a continuation of where I'm at now. Is there any questions I can answer or anything you guys want to know, or where should I take it?
Well, I think from here, I think most people are familiar with the beginning of your story, but maybe give us a 2 or 3 minute rundown, say from, college graduation through financial independence, or maybe through your first house hack.
Okay. Yeah. I graduated college.
By the way, sorry, Craig, right now you are 27?
28 now.
28. Okay.
Getting older, man. Every
Getting
year.
old. Yeah.
I graduated college in 2015. Graduated high school in 2010. So I'm probably about 10 years older than most of you guys. Graduated high school 2010, graduated college 2015 with from Northeastern University. If you've ever heard of it, it's a decent school, really expensive. And so I graduated with like $90,000 of student loan debt. Went to California, was living the dream, right? Making over 100 grand, living in Silicon Valley in San Francisco, investing in startup companies. Like, that's what everyone loved to do. Like, that's what I grew up wanting to do. But it was really like, it sounds sexy, but it's not. Like, when you're in the weeds, it's just like, man, you're working 60, 80, 100-hour weeks. I'm not making any investments, right? I'm just like working with companies that are making investments. I just didn't like it, right? And so I started learning a lot more, just with regards to financial independence. Real estate, I was thinking of dumb ideas, but nothing was really sticking. And then real estate just seemed like the obvious next step and the obvious answer. And so that's when I fell into Bigger Pockets, started reading all their blogs, watching their webinars, listening to the podcast. Just took like 6 months to just literally 3 to 4 hours every day. I was doing that. Until in January of 2017, I saw that they were hiring. They were hiring for a financial analyst, which is exactly what I could do. And so I submitted an application through like the abyss of online applications, and miraculously it got into the right hands and got an interview, somehow got the job, and then, moved to Denver. And within 2 months of moving to Denver, I was in my first house hack. And so that was the one that you guys all probably know about, which is the duplex where I was living behind the curtain, and was really just trying to like stay in that college mindset for as long as I possibly could, with like having roommates and not giving myself that added luxury, because I know once you give it to yourself, it's so hard to take it away. So.
Awesome. Thanks. And then, so you did one house hack. The next year you did another one. The next year you did another one. And then I think you did a fourth one, right? And that was the main catalyst in reaching early FI. And you did it in like 4 years, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I went from a negative net worth of about $60,000.
Because of the student loans.
Because of the student loans. Yeah. I had about 30,000 just savings, and then 90,000 in student loans. So, and that was in 2016. And then by 2019, I was financially independent. Probably had a net worth of about I don't know, maybe 400, 500,000. And then, 2020 last year, I achieved like the millionaire status, and then it keeps growing up and up and up from there. And you'll see that it's exponential growth, right? Like 100,000 is going to be like the hardest to get to and the longest. Then like 1 million is going to be the next longest. And, everyone that I know that, has like millions of dollars, like, 10 million plus dollars, like they're all like, yeah, like once you get the first one, it's really, once you can figure out how to make 1 million, you figure something out, and then you can, just double down from there. And I mean, you guys are all on the right track. If you're sitting here listening to me right now on a Sunday night, you're just all on the right track. Like it's incredible, man. Like I wish, everyone, you're going to hear it and be ready to hear this, because I heard it a lot, and I'm older than you guys. Like they're going to all be like, I wish I knew what you knew now when I was your age, blah, blah, blah. And just like, for some people, it gets really annoying. Like I was annoyed by it at first. I'm like, yeah, well, like you didn't, but don't be annoyed by it. Just kind of like use that as like confirmation that you're on the right track. And you guys are what, like between 18 and 21, maybe there's someone even younger than that on here. Like, when you guys are going to start like documenting your journey and showing where you're at, and hopefully you're educating the 15-year-olds. So then it should always get earlier, right? Like I learned at 23, which was really young, but to you guys, 23 probably sounds old as hell. And so, yeah, I think it's great that people that we're helping people get educated, like Dan, especially you, like you're helping these young adults get educated like way earlier than anyone else ever would have dreamed.
Well, we're just telling them what everybody should be told. I mean, really. So I want to tell this story, and I don't want to take up time from the questions, but before you jumped on, Craig, we were talking about networking, and we had some good examples of how a couple of the members have stepped out of their comfort zone, and they've started networking, and it's paid huge dividends already. A few of the members were talking about that. And I just want to tell this story because it's in the book that I wrote that's coming out, and they all know about. I don't know, Craig, if you know, we've decided on a name. It's called First to a Million. That's the name.
Ooh, I like
it was
that.
The one that tested best. But in that book, and then also in the second component of that, I write about when I met Craig. And so this is a networking story that I think you all need to pay attention to. And Craig, I think you probably remember all of this, but maybe not. So my wife and I don't know, 4 years ago, probably, we were big fans of Bigger Pockets. Craig was working there at the time. I had no idea who he was. And honestly, I think you had just started working there. So you were like, I don't think anybody knew who you were. Maybe even Bigger Pockets didn't know who you were because he had just started working there. So my wife and I went to a meetup. This is prior to COVID. It was in person at the Bigger Pockets headquarters. And we just loved Bigger Pockets. So we were like, well, here's a chance to go to Bigger Pockets. I mean, it's a really small physical location, but we went there and we just thought, well, we'll meet a few people and then take off. And we did. We had probably 4, maybe 5 conversations with individual people. And we were getting ready to go to leave the event. And while we were getting ready to leave, Craig, who I had no idea who he was, Craig walks up to us. And at the time, I think you maybe were 24, maybe 23 even. And he's just like, hey, hi, how you guys doing? And he introduces himself to us. He had a Bigger Pockets t-shirt on. So I was like, hey, do you work at Bigger Pockets? He's like, yeah, I just started here. Anyway, if you fast forward that, I mean, I think originally we connected because we were both looking to do short-term rentals in Colorado Springs, which we ended up doing one, and I don't think you ended up doing any, but that was the original connection. Like, hey, let's keep in touch and we can talk more about that strategy. But then I had Craig come into my classroom, and then the next year Craig came in again, but he brought Scott Trench with him. And so they were both coming in my classroom on a regular basis. And then when they were in my classroom one day, students were asking some questions. I got the idea for the book First to a Million and the planner that goes with it. It took me a while to get Bigger Pockets on board with it, but they eventually agreed to publish the book. And now it's being published. And honestly, the whole Sheeks Freaks idea, I don't think it would exist, honestly, if Craig and I wouldn't have connected way back then. And that only happened because my wife and I went to some some meetup, you know. We could have easily said, well, let's just hang out at home tonight and watch a couple movies or get caught up on our laundry or whatever. But we went, and that changed everything. So you just never know where one connection is going to take you. And I would have never guessed that meeting Craig 4 years ago, you know, and everything with Sheeks Freaks in the book would be, and you know, it's only going bigger from here. So thanks, Craig, for talking to us at the meetup that night.
Yeah, well, I had no idea that. I remember meeting for sure. I didn't realize it snowballed into this. I didn't ever put those pieces together, but
yeah.
I mean, that's what it is, guys. I mean, you guys should be getting out and meeting people as much as you can. I know, like, I mean, it seems like COVID is dying down at least, right? And so once things start opening up again, like, go out there and just, you know, every event you go to, make sure that you meet at least 5 people and actually have good conversations with them. Like, you don't need to meet everybody in the room. That will look really poorly on you when you network. Like, talk to 5 people for 15, 20 minutes each, get to know them. Remember, and what I used to always do is, you know, you get a business card or something, and you write down a thing or two you talked about with them. You know, Dan and I talked about Colorado Springs. You know, maybe I don't remember what else we talked about, but like, whatever it is, we talk about, you know, you went on a vacation to Hawaii and they like to vacation in Hawaii too. And you guys connect on that one thing, like, write that down. And then in like a day or two, you want to follow up with them, right? And say, hey, like, great meeting you, blah, 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 blah. And like, that's what you did so well, was that you're like the master of following up. And that's why we're together. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because I've shown these 5 freaks my spreadsheet of networking, and I just sent today probably a good 10 emails to people who I hadn't touched base with in one way or another in probably a couple months, and just told them what I was up to and what are you up to? What are your projects you're working on? Yeah, and here's another thing, guys, and this, me and Craig, I will shut up in a minute, but as you guys know, the people you hang out with are the people that you become. And Jim Rohn's like you are the 5 people who you spend the most time with. I never ever thought about writing a book. I mean, that thought never crossed my mind until I started hanging out with Craig and Scott. Not that we were hanging out all the time, but Scott had written a book, Set for Life. I had read it. I loved it. Craig was in the process of writing a book. And I remember thinking, if this guy is 25 and he can write a book, I mean, I can write a book. I'm 20 years older than him. Not true. I'm about not quite 20 years older, but yeah. And so, you know, it would have never happened if I wouldn't have been hanging out with a couple of guys who had written books. When you're on this call right now, when we were checking in, a couple of the mastermind members are closing on house hack deals. You're going to be much more likely to buy your own house hack deal and actually follow through with it if you're hanging out with people who are also doing that same thing than not. So, sorry. I just think networking and who you surround yourself with are so important. And that kind of was the topic today. So we're going to transition now finally into a Q&A session with Craig. And so Craig, what we've kind of found out that works well for this is if you turn on your chat, or if you look on your chat, if you can, they'll just type in some questions in the chat about whatever, and then you can just kind of go through them one by one, and we'll see how that goes. Is that cool?
Cool. Yeah. Yep. I got the chat open. So whatever you guys want to ask, feel free. But yeah, I'll just, Ben is asking me, I think you asked me this on Instagram too, and I promised you I'd answer it here. So what do I think about 203K loans? So 203K loans are, I think they're great in practice. No, great in theory, horrible in practice. And here's why. So a 203K loan, right? If you guys don't know what a 203K loan is, it's basically you can buy a property for like that 3% down, 3.5% down as an FHA loan. But if you're going to do some work to it, you can wrap the rehab costs into the loan. And so, let's say you buy a $200,000 property, 3%, 3.5% down is like what, 7,500 or something. And then if you want to do another 10K rehab, you get a loan for 17,000, whatever, the 300 and 210,000 or whatever it is. And so,
but it has to be a primary residence. You have to live there.
yep, it has to be a primary residence. You have to live there. So it's a good house hacking type strategy. And I know a lot of people that are like, oh, this is amazing because like I can finance my rehab, and that's what people worry about most. However, that probably worked in 2008, 2009, 2010, when there was no work for contractors and they basically needed to do anything they could. Right now, contractors it's very hard to find a contractor that's not super busy. And the 203K loan comes with a lot of red tape, right? You have to get 3 bids. You have to have them fill out a whole bunch of paperwork to get paid. Like, it's a huge, huge pain in the butt for contractors, and contractors they absolutely hate paperwork. Try to send one an email. You'll get a response back maybe in 2 weeks, right? They just don't like, that's why they're in contracting, right? They like to work with their hands. And so you just won't get ones that want to do it. If you do, they're probably going to suck because that means they're not very busy. They're going to charge a lot more. And so it's just usually not worth it in this market, right? And so, if you guys are a couple of years away, maybe we see a massive dip and construction and contractors aren't busy, then maybe you can do it. But I just don't love the 203K loans. Okay, so we got someone. Does that answer your question, Ben?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Damon is asking, what items should a person house hacking a single family home provide in the property to attract quality roommates and or tenants? So I like to furnish all of the common areas, right? If I'm doing like a rent by the room house hack. So couch, kitchen stuff, if you have a yard, like some outdoor furniture might be nice, a grill might be nice, all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't say it's the things that you provide that attract quality roommates, other than just making sure your room is clean and whatnot, but it's how you advertise it. And so this is one thing I learned that is actually not in my book, because I learned it after I wrote my book, is that I found that when you're advertising your property, you should advertise it to a specific niche of people. Right. So for example, in Colorado, there's a lot of snowboarders, rock climbers, that kind of thing. Right. So if you were to like advertise your place as like a, rock climbers heaven, or like snowboarding paradise, or whatever it is like that, it's going to attract other snowboarders and other rock climbers. And so they all end up going to the mountains together, and they all end up having that friend group. And then it's less, when you like the people you live with, you have a little bit higher tolerance if like there's a dish left in the sink or whatever it is, right? So that's one thing I highly recommend doing, and that's one thing that you can do to attract roommates that get along and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you just have to do your tenant screening. Make sure the credit score is good, make sure they have good references, make sure there's the background check them, actually meet them, all that kind of stuff. Catalina Mendoza. Damon, does that answer your question? Is he here still? Yep, there he is.
Yeah.
Cool. Catalina is asking, what is one of the biggest first time house hacker? What is the one biggest mistake that house hackers look over when purchasing their first house hack? I would say a mistake that a lot of people make is just not screening their tenants as easily, just wanting to get those tenants in as soon as possible and get it rented. That's a mistake I see. Another mistake I see, which actually is probably bigger now that I think of it, is that a lot of first-time house hackers, they hear on Bigger Pockets that you want to like go in and rehab the house and add all this equity and refinance it and all that kind of stuff. But it's actually not beneficial when you house hack. When you house hack, you want to get in and you want to get it rented as soon as possible. Because if you're doing a big rehab with your house hack, think about it this way, right? You buy a property, right? You're going to have a mortgage payments that's due. You're going to be paying them because you can't really rent a house if it's under construction. You're going to spend more money on this rehab that could be used for your next down payment on your next house hack, right? So instead of like trying to like do all this fancy, cute stuff that you hear on the podcast, just get into something, rent it out, and save any money that you would spend on a rehab for your next house hack. Because the power in house hacking is getting one every single year on the year. Like time is your biggest enemy here. And so Once that year is up is when you want to start looking again. And so if a rehab is going to set you back from that next one, it's not worth it. Sarah is asking, how do you screen for house hacks? Have you ever done renovations to a house hack to add bathrooms, etc.? So it's kind of plays off my last answer. I screen for house hacks, and this is my area, right? I think you guys are probably all from around the country. So in Denver, I like to buy 5+ bedrooms or even 4+ bedrooms, 2+ bathroom houses that are up down, and you can. There's a bathroom on each floor and at least 2 bedrooms on each floor. And that way, and then you just rent out the rooms, right? So usually I like to have 2 to 3 people to 1 bathroom. I'll do a 5-2 or maybe even a 6-2, but anything more than that, I probably wouldn't do. I like to see houses that have some sort of entrance on the side that can lead right to the stairs so that I can section it off someday and like turn it into like a fake duplex. And I have added bathrooms and stuff to my house hacks. I've added, let's see. I mean, I did like a massive rehab, and honestly, it's just never worth it. But bathroom ads can be anywhere between, 8 to 15 grand, depending on how nice you want to do them, and if the plumbing is already roughed in or not. So they can get pricey, which is why I recommend just keeping the house as is. Hosea, I'm not sure if that's pronounced right, but he's asking, are your properties in Colorado? How are you managing them in Hawaii? Right. So this is a great question. So I've got a property manager that manages all my properties now. I really don't do much of managing my properties. All the properties that I own are managed by property managers, and that's mainly because right now I'm doing the real estate agent business, which is taking up most of my time. I also like to have a life. And so as you start having more passive income and start making some more money, you start removing these like low dollar per hour tasks from your plate, right? And for me, or things that you just don't like to do. And for me, like managing tenants, move in, move outs, all that kind of stuff, I just did not like to do. So I outsourced it. Jabbar is asking, what thoughts do you have about scaling rent by the bedroom? Maybe by having full-time managements and VAs like the adult version of student rentals. So people definitely have scaled the rent by the room strategy or like co-living kind of space. It can be done. I will say that it's very difficult to be done because it's very management intensive, and a lot of property managers aren't willing to take these on. And the ones that are probably aren't that good, right? And so where we stand right now, right? My full belief is that your first 2 or 3 of these house hacks should be these rent by the room type things, just to like get you to that baseline financial independence mark, right? Like get you that $3,000. Like right now, you don't have a lot of money, right? So you need like the highest possible return on your little bit of money. Eventually, you're going to take a lower return on a lot more money, so that way, your passive income is kind of the same, right? But you're doing far less work and it's much more scalable, and then you can actually grow more and more, if that makes sense. Joe Menino is asking, do you have any investment properties that are not house hacks? What type, and will you continue to scale into apartments? So yes, I do have, so I have a total of 11 properties right now. 4 of those are house hacks, 7 have not been. 6 I purchased in North Carolina, just cheaper market, and I've got friends that are investors out there, and I just like what they're doing. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I did. They're all single family homes. And then I got 1 here. I partnered with a friend here in Denver for this duplex. If you're familiar with Denver, it's right by Sloan's Lake. So really great area. We're converting each, it's a 2-1 duplex on each side. We're converting it to a 3-bed, 2.5 bath on each side. So we'll hope those rents will increase a bit. And yeah, we're looking to cash flow about total $2,000 a month in cash flow based on the numbers that we run there. Cause my friend is a lender, so he gets really cheap rates. I don't know if I'm going to scale into apartments. I keep going back and forth with that. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I think I realize that, well, I love real estate investing as like a vehicle to get wealthy. I don't know if I want to be like a full-time real estate investor, like finding like off-market deals and, and like doing a bunch of like research and all that kind of stuff is like not what I love to do. So I'll probably just do a little bit more of the syndication stuff where I am the limited partner. And so what that means, if you don't know what limited partner means, that means that I just give, I'll give $50,000 or someone who is investing, that I trust, who is investing in an apartment complex. I'll get the returns, a little bit of an equity stake, but let them do all the work, right? And so that's another, as you start to grow and you have more opportunities, like business opportunities, you'll figure out kind of what you like and what you don't like. And you probably are going to ask yourself a lot of the same question, like, do I really want to do this a lot? Because you find yourself surrounded with people, like a lot of my friends are doing those kind of things. I'm just like, man, I just don't feel like sitting behind a desk all day, like doing that. Like I like growing a business more. Like I like growing the real estate agent business more. I feel like the growing of businesses is more exciting to me than just the investment side. So, do you have roommate agreements as well as leases? I do not have roommate agreements as well as leases. Sarah is asking that. I do not have any room. I don't have that. I just have in the leases, I just have like a section that's house rules. And I write down all the house rules on that. So, cleaning, yard work, snow maintenance, how to be a good roommate, like quiet hours, that kind of stuff. Ethan is asking, if you have enough money to make a 20% down payment on a house hack, would you still choose an FHA loan or make the full down payment? Ethan, that's a great question. You always want to do, maybe not the FHA loan, but you can do like a 3% down conventional or a 5% down conventional. You always want to do the lowest percent down as possible. The reason for that is because you'll get the highest return on your investment by putting the least amount down, right? So if you look up like return on investment, it'll say like, total return divided by your investment, right? And so that investment is the bottom number. So you want to make that number as low as possible to get the highest possible return. You'll find that house hacking is going to give you returns like well into the 100%. And you're going to be upset if you've got enough money for a down payment of 20%. You'll be upset that you can't deploy all of your money at the same rate you will a house hack. But let's say you're in Denver, right? And you put down $30,000 of your $80,000 for a house hack. You got $50,000 left over. That's when you can think about maybe doing a small rehab, right? Or set $30,000 aside for your next project and take the remaining $20,000 or $40,000 or whatever you have to do some work or to have as reserves or whatever it is. But no, I would not make the full down payment if I didn't have to. Taylor says, "What's up, Craig? I'm the 19-year-old working with Chad." Taylor, yes, I know you very well. He's just saying thanks. So Taylor. So shout out to Taylor. He's on the call, man. He is under contract for his first house hack in North Glen. And that's what, 5-3, right, man?
Yes. Yeah, no, I just want to say a huge thank you. You guys have been like the best resource. You guys even outbeat Bigger Pockets and anybody that's around Denver. I highly recommend working with FI team. They're going to be the best resource that's out there. And you guys have been just crazy helpful.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's great to hear, man. I love to, thank you, obviously. And yeah, we've got, obviously we've got a team of agents that are really good and they're all house hackers and investors and embedded in the Bigger Pockets community too. So, it's all good. And Taylor, congrats on taking action, man. I'm excited to see, we'll be in touch once you get that place filled and you'll have to show off your numbers to the group here too.
Yeah, but I do have a question. So I think this is going to apply to a lot of people in here. So the Denver market's obviously really expensive. And I was fortunate enough, my mom can co-sign on the loan. So if I didn't have like my mom to co-sign for like a $500,000 loan, like how could I still make this work? Like if I was on my own, how could I still manage to house hack? Would I be forced to kind of go out of state, or how would be the best way to do it?
Given that you guys don't have probably like too many years of work experience, you probably are going to need a co-signer, which is fine, but there's nothing wrong with having a co-signer. If you guys are if you have jobs, like career jobs. So one thing they do is like but you guys are probably a couple of years away from that because no one's like graduating college here, right? Everyone's going into college. Oh, you are graduating college. Okay. So if you're graduating college, and you get a job in the career that your major is in. So if you're like a finance major and you get a career as like a finance analyst, then they'll count that as continuation and it will count that. So you can start house hacking like immediately as you get like a full real job. But if you're working at like Discount Tire or whatever it is, they're probably not going to count that as real income unless you made a ton of money at Discount Tire the last couple of years. So
Wait, I have
yeah.
a follow-up question to that. Does it have
Yep.
to be like necessarily like if you get a marketing degree, it has to be a marketing job, or does it have to be kind of like a career related, like business oriented? Like or does it really necessarily have to be like marketing?
Yeah. I would talk to your lender just to 100% confirm that. But I've heard that it needs to, like if you have a marketing degree and you go and get a job as like a tour guide or something, like it's probably not gonna go. But if you get like if you get like a corporate type degree and you work with a corporate company, it's probably okay. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, I would, that's kind of my assumption, right? But definitely talk to like a lender to confirm that.
I've talked to several lenders and they've said that similar to what you said, but they just want a full transcript as well as if you just get a job offer, like letter acceptance, like you've accepted a job, then they'll count that at the same pay. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll count. Yeah, if you have to make sure the acceptance letter says the pay on it probably, and they'll count that towards as if you're making that money.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thanks you guys all for contributing. Aiden, we'll get back to questions. Aiden is asking, would you recommend buying a house hack with seller financing if you can't qualify for other financing? I mean, I guess you could get a house hack for seller financing. But typically even seller financing, they're probably going to want more than 3% down. Like, and I'm thinking like from a seller, like, cause you're just super risky unless it's someone if you're kind of strapped for the down payment, which I suspect is most of the issue here, I would say that you could probably just ask like friends and family or whatever to just maybe loan you some money. Like I've got friends that have lent them like, $10,000, $5,000, $15,000, whatever it is, and they just pay them back with interest. And you could just do that to help for your down payment on your loan. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, seller financing will be fine. If you can find someone that wants to do 3% down or whatever it is, absolutely. I don't know if you could find that. You just have to work harder at it. Sanibel is asking, what companies are you invested in, if any? So I don't really play too much in stocks. I do have a lot invested in my real estate brokerage, EXP, and that's just because, well, I'm really bullish on the company, but also every time I do a transaction, I get 5% of my commissions goes and purchases their stock at a 10% discount, and their stock it's gone up a lot this year, and it's kind of like it's coming back down now, but I'm still like way over what I would have ever, what I was purchasing the stock for. So yeah, that's really the only company that I'm invested in stock wise. Ben is asking, what are your most successful habits? My most successful habits, I would say the one thing that I do that I think really propelled like my success, if you will, is The Miracle Morning. Have you guys read that book? If you haven't read that book, like you have to read that book and start implementing it like immediately. And so I started reading that book in 2017. It was like February 2017. I literally remember the exact day. And I started I started waking up like 30 minutes earlier and just doing like basically like 5 minutes of each thing every day. And then when I got used to that, I went it back to an hour earlier, then an hour and a half. And, now my Miracle Morning is like 3-4 hours long. And I do everything for like a long time. And it's just, I can't not do the Miracle Morning now. Like when I don't do it, my days just don't feel as good. Jabbar is asking, if someone was trying to implement a strategy purely focused on maximum cash flow, what would you recommend? Maximum cash flow, would be probably I mean, if you want to combine what I did with the curtain and rent by the room, that would probably be your maximum cash flow, right? So set up a little space in your living room and go behind and sleep behind the curtain, and rent out every single bedroom in the house, a 5 or 6 bedroom house. That'll be your most cash flow. If you don't want to live behind a curtain in your living room, you maybe could buy one of those like stationary, those like trailer hitch trailers. Just throw it in your driveway and you have you've got a bed and kind of your own little space. Maybe you even have a bathroom, but you probably just go into the house to cook and use a shower or something. But that would be probably the most aggressive way. Ethan is asking, what are you doing different to find deals right now in today's market? Ethan, today, it is very hard to find deals in today's market, like no question about it. The good thing about house hacking is that it doesn't really matter if you get like the best deal. You just have to get a deal, and just, again, it's all about that, like accumulating one every single year. And the quicker you can do it, the better. Whether you pay $10,000 less or $20,000 less is going to be such a minuscule difference than 5 years ago when looking back, right? Like, to give you an example, I purchased that first duplex for $385,000 back in 2017, right? And it was listed for $400,000, and I was so nervous to buy it at $385,000, right? I offered $360,000 at first, and I ended up getting it at $385,000, and I was so nervous that I was overpaying, blah blah blah. Here we are today; it's probably worth $600,000 to $650,000, right? So if I didn't take that deal because I was afraid that I was overpaying by $15,000, $20,000, I would have lost out on hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you really have to just kind of see the forest through the trees. And you guys are just so young that time is it's actually going to benefit you, because you just got to buy it, wait. If you guys are all 18, 19, and if you can have 5 or 6 house hacks by the time you're 24, 25, you're going to be doing such big things. You're not going to be working. You're going to be either doing a business and trying to, get to that 10 million, 50 million, $100 million net worth mark, or you're just going to be going and enjoying your life and traveling and spending time with family and friends. And people are going to ask you how the hell you're going to do that. And you just tell them, you follow the strategy. You remember, you just say, remember when you thought I was crazy for having 6 roommates? Well, here it is. So yeah, that's that. Let's see. Okay, I think I might have lost track of the questions here. Henry, what alternative would you suggest to house hacking for a young person looking to build their rental property? Their numbers for New York City don't seem to make sense for house hacking. Do you think I'm not looking hard enough? Henry, New York City is hard as hell, straight up. No way around it. If you really want a house hack in New York, you're gonna have to get really creative. And really, I've got a friend in San Francisco who this was technically not legal, right? So I don't want to. So I'm not promoting this, but I'll tell you what he did. Is he basically he rented a house. He rented a 7-bedroom house in San Francisco, and it was at the time it was $3 or $4 grand a month to rent that. And he created a co-living space in San Francisco. People want to all live there. They want to be with other entrepreneurs and other programmers and all that kind of stuff, right? And so he would take each bedroom and throw 2 sets of bunk beds in each bedroom. So 4 bunk beds, or so 4 sleeping spots per bedroom. So you had a total of 28 sleeping spots, and he charged $1,200 a room, or $1,200 a spot. So he was making $5 grand a room. He was making literally probably 20 grand a month from this one property, right? Because he kind of went outside the box and was super creative about doing that in San Francisco. I don't know enough about New York, especially now with COVID and people maybe not wanting to live there as much. But if you can figure that out somehow, maybe find a landlord that's willing to take hey, market rent's $3,000. I'll give you $5,000 if you let me do this, right? And create a cool co-living space for them. My friend, he would take a quarter of the income he made, probably $3,000 or $4,000 a month, and would just make enhancements to the places. Maybe he would buy computers, or redo the office area, or get some good lighting, or put up some screens, or whatever it is. So again, you have to get and that's just one idea, right? But you just got to get creative in New York, or you move, right? You move out of New York City. you move maybe out to like, I don't know, like New Jersey is good, or maybe even like upstate a little bit. Or yeah, I mean, yeah, New York is hard. No question about it. Sanibel, in your opinion, where is the best place to invest in real estate? Sanibel, that is a question that is really hard to answer because there are so many good places to invest in real estate. And there's deals in every market. And if I knew like the best place, obviously I'd be putting all my money there and I'd be very, very much wealthier than I am now. So really it's just, I would just invest. I'd say the best place to invest is just in your backyard, right? So wherever you are, start there because you're probably really familiar with that area. If you're not living where you grew up, maybe it's where you grew up. But I would just somewhere where you've got connections and that you're familiar with. There's not really like a tried and true answer to like, I can't say like, oh, Jacksonville's a really good area, or I don't know, North Carolina is really good, right? I just go where I've got connections and I'm familiar with the areas. Aiden is asking, is there any specific strategies you use to get the next house hack right on the dot of the next year to make the best use of time? Aiden, yeah, that's another good question. So you're allowed to, so once you close on your house, on the house hack, you have 60 days to move in, right? And so technically you can close on your house hack 60 days prior to your close date of your first house hack. And so let's say you close on July 10th, right? You can close on your second house hack as early as May 10th, but you can't move until July 10th. That's the rules, right? And so what I would do is 9 months, 9 months after your house hack, 3 months before you're due for your next one, I would start looking and then start putting something under contract. That way you can close in that 60-day window. So that way you're kind of using your time as wisely as possible. Ben is asking again, getting a house hack every year with an FHA means you pay capital gains tax. Doesn't meet the 2 to 5 rule. Is that rule less important with house hacking? My dad does a lot of syndication investing, great returns and hassle-free. Yeah, your dad's a smart guy for doing a lot of syndication investing. As for so you're right. If you were to sell the house, you would not be living there for the last 2 to 5 years. So you would pay capital gains on it 100%. There's ways around that, right? You can still 1031 the house into another, larger real estate investment in which you wouldn't pay taxes on it. Otherwise, yeah, if you were to sell it, you would pay capital gains taxes on it. But just don't sell it. Eventually you'll want to, but I feel like when you'll want to 1031 it anyway. And if you sell it because you need it, then yeah, you're just gonna have to pay the taxes on it. But I would say it's less important because, again, you really get wealthy by accumulating rather than worrying about, the taxes or whatever. But maybe another strategy could be is you buy 4 house hacks, right? So year 1 you buy 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and then year 5 you go back and live in the first house hack again for a year, right? So that's 2 of the last 5. Then you sell it at the end of that year, get the appreciation over 4 years, right? And then just kind of go back up, go back, live in your second house hack again, sell it, third, if you wanted to save on that capital gains tax. Again, just spitballing ideas if you wanted to save on that tax. Henry, could you touch on your role as a financial analyst? What were your main responsibilities and what experiences do you think helped prepare you for the role? Being a financial analyst sucked, man. Straight up. A lot of spreadsheets, a lot of, man, what the hell did I even do? I looked at a lot of financial statements of companies and decided whether or not they were good, whether they were growing, whether they weren't, whether they were in a good position or bad position. A lot of reporting, a lot of putting reports together, a lot of PowerPoint presentations, a lot of formatting and writing memos based on what I'm seeing. Maybe that sounds good to you guys, but I promise you the novelty wears off after about 2 days. So, I don't know. It's good because it's good money and it helps you qualify for good loans. So if you're going to do that, I would recommend doing it in the first couple of years if you're going to go for finance. But just know that that's not, if you're going to do all this stuff, I would recommend that not being your career path and just using that as a means to an end. The good thing about being a financial analyst is it does help in real estate investing a little bit because there's a lot of terms that are similar, like return on investment, capital expenditures. Like there's a lot of overlap in terminology and kind of like ways you think about investing. So that's in like, honestly, like bookkeeping and knowing kind of accounting and how the financial statements work. As a business owner, it helps you be able to look at those financial statements and be able to see what your business is doing rather than have it just look like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. So yeah, that's probably where the finance analyst actually has helped. Jabbar is asking, how big of a role was your real estate agent income at the beginning stages of your wealth accumulation journey? Does the majority of your net worth come from appreciation on house hacks? So on the beginning of, so I had achieved financial independence without much real estate agent income. And that wasn't really accumulation of my house hacks. That was just that was the accumulation of the passive income from my house hacks. After I quit my job, that's when the real estate agent stuff really took off. And that's where the real estate agent income got me to the $1 million mark faster than I ever would have imagined or dreamed. But that was my thing, right? And so you guys will all have your thing that you're passionate about, that will grow you way faster, right? Because if you're, I really recommend everyone here, if you're 18, 19, 20, document your journey, because people and start your Instagram and start your TikTok or whatever the hell you have, and start showing people what you're doing, because you'll slowly start to grow a following and you'll start to be able to monetize that following. And you may not even know how you do it at first, but just having a following, it really is helpful, and documenting that journey is really how you do it. Catalina is asking, when moving to a new market, what are some aspects to consider when finding a house hack? So when moving to a new market, you really want to know what kind of houses are in the area, right? Are there basements? Are there not basements? You want to figure, are there schools nearby? Does rent by the room make sense, right? In Denver, rent by the room makes sense, but in, Little Rock, Arkansas, it probably doesn't, right? Because rents are expensive in Denver, but they're not as expensive in Little Rock, Arkansas. So if you can just, in those markets where the housing is cheaper, you can get a duplex for 200, 300 grand, then you probably can just do a traditional house hack where you have your own unit, rent out the other side, right? And so it really depends on the price of the house and all that. But you really do, every market is different. I would probably recommend just trying to network with other people in the market that you're moving to and see what they're doing, and just rinse and repeat. Ben is asking, what is your outlook on the market? I'm struggling to find any good multifamily deals in Fort Worth, Texas. Do you know anything about ADU investing? Yeah, dude, the market's tough, man. There's no way around it, around the whole country. I know Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth is probably similar to Denver, just kind of city-wise. And yeah, multifamily probably doesn't work there anymore, right? You may have to go into the rent by the room, and maybe you're not in Fort Worth or Dallas and you're, I don't know, in somewhere outside of that area. I don't know the area well enough to know the suburbs, but maybe you're 15, 20 minutes away and you can buy a house for 300 grand, a 5-bedroom for 300 grand or 400 grand, and rent out the bedrooms. And hopefully that is something that, that people in Dallas are wanting to do, young professionals, especially kids just getting out of college. They want a cheap place to live and they want to live with people. So yeah, that's that. Jabbar is asking, I know you do BRRRRs in North Carolina. Do you have any thoughts on doing a BRRRR and turning it into an Airbnb to maximize returns and have that velocity of capital? Yeah, Jabbar, you could definitely do the Airbnb thing. I've got good friends out in North Carolina. Shelby, she was actually on the Bigger Pockets podcast. You may have heard her if you're listening to that regularly. She does a lot of the BRRRR Airbnb things. So she's got a system for Airbnbs and all that. So yeah, at first I would highly recommend just go all out, get the highest return on your money, Airbnb as much as you can. For me, I really wanted something just baseline. So when I was investing in North Carolina, my thesis was okay, I achieved financial independence in Denver, which was about $3,000-$4,000 of passive income. Now I want to achieve financial independence in North Carolina in a really basic way. So if tourism goes to crap and all of this stuff, right? I want to be able to have financial independence there in case Denver goes to crap or North Carolina goes to crap. I've got this redundancy. And so that's kind of what I did in North Carolina. So that was just my thesis there. But yeah, you could totally do the rent by the room Airbnb. Aiden is asking, being free of location is what I'm going for with reaching FI. Yeah, man, that's it, man. So, even, oh, sorry, I see your question continues. What system should I have set up to make my house hacking business passive? How can I create scalable real estate business that is hands-off holding that visionary title? So Aiden, so usually, at first you're going to have to work in your business, right? Just because you're not going to have the I assume you're not going to have the financial means to be hiring people and cutting out all your returns, right? So I would say that first your house hacking, you're going to be there, you're going to be on the spot, right? You got to put a few years of dues in, right? And then once you start, reaching that kind of scale, you've got $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 passive income coming in. Maybe you're approaching that $1 million net worth. Now you start getting people underneath you, right? You've got VAs, right? Or maybe you've got a personal assistant or whatever it is. And they're really taking a lot of that time off your plate. Because I almost guarantee you that you're going to want to do something productive. Like if you're on this call, like you're all productive and you have that growth mindset. And it doesn't just turn off once you hit financial independence, right? It's like, oh shoot, you'll be like, oh man, I'm 23 and I can retire. That's cool. But I'm 23, I want to do something more. And then you start looking up to, the Brandon Turners of the world and them like, okay, well, living in Denver is cool, but living in Hawaii would be really nice. Having that beachfront property might be really nice. And you start wanting some more of those luxuries and you can, you decide whether you want to work for them or not. That's the best part about financial independence, right? Is you can also decide, I don't want that. I'd rather just chill. So you do, right? You guys, I'm sure have heard of Mr. Money Mustache, who's up in Longmont. I'm not sure what his net worth is or anything like that. I would guess it's in the tens of millions, but he lives off of $30,000 a year. And that's just he likes to live a life of leisure. He likes to bike around everywhere, work on his friends' properties. He literally just likes to do some projects and all that kind of stuff. And that's the life he chooses to live. So that's the glory of financial independence. And I have no doubt that if he wanted to double down and, it sounds so unlike him, but get a yacht or whatever, he could do that if he wanted to. So totally up to you. Ben is asking, do you wish you had chosen a different business degree? No, I don't. I think finance is probably if you're going to go into business, I think finance makes a lot of sense just because the whole world is finance. My personal finance, I understand. When people just explain things to me in finance terms, I get it. And that's because of my education as much as I will talk shit about it. And I just, the butterfly effect, right? You change one thing, it means I would have met, if I didn't have my finance degree, I wouldn't have the finance analyst role at Bigger Pockets. I would never have met Dan. I would never have met Scott. I would never have met Brandon. I would never have met all of the people that have brought me to where I am today. So, I think sometimes you just have to you still have to pay your dues and you have to do some hard work to get there for sure. So yeah, that's the end of the questions, guys. Thank you so much for you got us right to the 6:30 mark. So
that's perfect. Yeah, they do a good job of monitoring the questions versus the time left. Good job with every guest. They do a good job of that. Sometimes I get worried that we'll have 50 questions and we're out of time. But Greg, that was great. That was great. Thanks. I think pretty much everybody in the Sheeks Freaks Mastermind is or will be a future house hacker. Maybe not 100%, but probably 95. So having you on as the expert house hacking authority, at least in my opinion, I think is super helpful for them. And they had some great questions. So I hope I don't regret this, Craig, and I hope I'm not setting you up for something you wouldn't want me to do. But if you guys wanted to connect with Craig, I think DMing him on Instagram is probably a good way to do it. Does that sound good?
Yeah, DM on Instagram is fine. I try to get back to everybody. I usually do. And it might take a day or two, but I usually get back to everybody. So especially if you say you're with Dan or whatever, it definitely makes me want to get back to you more. So yeah.
They'll just tell you that they're a freak.
Yeah,
you'll know what that
I'll know what that means. But yeah, no, it's incredible what you're doing, Dan, and it's incredible what all you guys are here. Seriously, it's amazing.
They're the incredible ones. I think I tell them often enough that it probably annoys them that I wish I was where they were when I was their age and knew what they know. And I mean, they're all so motivated and it's going to be fun. We're having that 1 year anniversary, but I can't wait to see the 5 year anniversary and where all these mastermind members are at. It's going to be pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
So Craig, we're going to let you go. Thanks for spending some time with us. We'll let you go back to your Hawaii lifestyle.
Hi everyone, if you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You should also go check out our website and Instagram, which are both linked below this video. Thanks again for watching. Now go and get your freak on.